That's okay. Or
All
on my
right.
side, I can hear. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry.
Hi, everyone. How are we doing today? I'm going to give people a few minutes to log on or join this live stream. Hey, how are you? I'm getting I'm giving some people a couple minutes to join us. So, in the meantime, we can talk about, you know, maybe catch up. Thank you, Celeste. How's your day so far? Okay, I'll give people another about another minute. Oh, I'm doing good too. Um, and yeah, it's good to see you again. So yeah, I was watching a live stream that one of my I suppose I can call her a friend. She had a live stream on her channel. I think it's called Journey Home Mentorship. And so she had a live stream earlier where she interviewed, her guest speaker is a CTA, and that was very interesting to be on that call. Hi, V Smart Pharmacy. How are you today? I'm glad you're doing well, V Smart. Okay, so I don't know if you heard, but I was going over like current events and, well, for today. And so basically, today's news, I saw, I guess, like a headline or something about a certain bank that I guess accidentally credited an account like $81 trillion. And I wanted to hear, um, I wanted to know, like, did you guys hear about that? And what would you do if someone, accidentally wired $81 million to your bank account? Yeah, I personally wonder what I would do because it's kind of like one of those things where like, you know, you think about it, but in reality, like, I don't know, sometimes I think I respond differently from what I expect in certain situations, and I think that's an example of one of them. I think if like someone gave me like $81 trillion like overnight, I would question. Yeah, like V Smart's pharmacy says, I would be suspicious of where that money is coming from. Like who done it? What happened? Why is it here? What am I would be wondering what am I in right now? Like what's going on? Do I need to report this? Celeste says they can hit my bank account if they want it. You sure? Look, because look, hey, listen, money is a good thing in the right hands. Okay. As for where it's coming from, that's a different story. So are you okay with that? Yeah. Celeste says this is my first time hearing about it. I mean, okay. So like I'm curious, what would you do with that amount of money? Like if okay, let's just say, you know, this is just for fun. Like, oh, I just read V Smart Pharmacy's comment. They will make you return it. That, yeah, in that proportion, I can imagine why they'd make you return it. I think I've heard someone talk about, and I haven't verified this, because I don't know the person, but I heard a story about how someone accidentally got like money in their bank account and then I guess they took it. um, I guess if it's a smaller amount, then I guess I'm not, encouraging this, but yeah, I just think when it's a smaller amount, maybe there wouldn't be as much attention on it. But okay, let's just put that aside. Let's just say that 81 trillion was deposited into your bank account. Um, no strings attached. What do you think would be the first thing you do with that money? I think for me, yeah, I need to think about it too, because like if someone were to like put in $81 trillion in my bank account, I don't know what I would do, because I have never I have not seen like that many zeros, you know. Uh V-Smart says she would give it to the needy. I mean, I can see you doing that because we had a whole interview about how much you love giving to people. So I'm just saying, this is live, and the Lord can hear me. If anyone should have $81 trillion in their bank account, I vouch for you. Okay. V Smart's V Smart Pharmacist says take a vacation too. Oh, where would you go on vacation? And definitely, um, V Smart says pray. Yes, definitely. That should be like, yeah, I didn't think about that. Even though it's obvious, that should be the first thing we do, right? Pray with that, because there's a reason why it's in your bank account, the $81 trillion in this, theoretical, scenario we have going. That to me, that means that, maybe you're being entrusted with that much money. So the best thing you can do is steward that correctly. And Celeste says, I will pray about it first to know what to do with it, because that way the why I want to give may not be what God wants. Mhm. Mhm. Oh, so V Smart says she wants to go to Thailand or Orlando. What about you, Celeste? Where would you like to go? Off the top of my head, I'd like to go to like Tennessee, or just because I like the scenery during fall. At least you know what Google Images shows me. I don't know if I was supposed to say Google, but dropping names. But yeah, there I like the scenery and I like hiking. So those two together is ideal for me. And Japan is the second place I'd like to go. And I'm curious, like, typically how far in advance do you, if you do plan in advance, how far in advance do you plan your trips before you travel? And Celeste says, I will have to ask him first and really don't have a destination I want to go to. And be smart. Where is Waldorf Astoria? Yeah. And for me, I just like I guess just the, how do I say it? The aesthetic of Japan. I just think it's just so calming, and I mean, I'd like to go visit. Living there is a whole different thing. And I'm curious, V Smart, have you been to Thailand before? Uh, V Smart Pharmacy says she plans her travel a couple months ahead. And Celeste says, I am a giver, so I don't know. That's why I depend on him, because if with tips, I tip big because I used to work in a restaurant. So I know how tips helps. Okay, now that got me thinking about a different a question. So, okay, I know I've heard about people who've worked at restaurants, um, living off of the tips that they receive. But at what point is tipping like too much? Because like the last few years, where I'm at in California, not trying to like give away my whole coordinates here online, but I have seen tips go from 15 to I think I think 18%. And like I've tipped, right, when I've gone out to eat, but I think there's a certain point where um it's too much. I think personally, I think 15 is good. Now, if someone wants to give more than that, out of their own free will, then I think, that's great. Um, Whereas when you go to a restaurant, or at least when I've gone to a restaurant and they tell you how much, like they give you like three different options of like a percentage that you'd like to give. And I don't think I'm not a fan of that approach, because to me that's kind of like, okay, so you're just basically telling me what you want me to give you. Um, yeah, I don't want to feel pressured into giving a tip. You know what I mean? Now, like if the service is good and the food is good, then obviously you have every reason to tip. But yeah, maybe it's just me. I need a good reason to be tipping past like a certain amount, 15 being like a good amount already. Oh, your uncle lived in Thailand. Yeah. I like I like their curry, by the way. Their chicken curry. If you haven't had that, I recommend it. I don't know. How much are you guys comfortable with tipping? Like, what's the percentage? I'd like to hear, like, um, I guess different rates. Like, what to you is like, okay, this is the amount you generally give, and then let's just say the service was like top notch, right? How much would you be willing to give in addition to that? And speaking of food, I'm curious, how much do eggs cost where you live, like right now? Or at least the last time you went shopping for eggs, if you eat eggs. Just saying that because there's so many different types of um, diets these days. And Celeste says, I do tip based on service, but not every time, because sometimes I can see their service can be bad because there's only one working and others are not. And you can see it in their face, they're frustrated. Hmm. That's a good point. V Smart says, I tip 20 normally. Like, wow, that's very generous. Celeste says the last time she tipped was $7. Wait, hold up. Let me just make sure I understand. $20 tip or a 20% tip? Eggs, brown dozen, $10. I think I heard my mom saying she saw at the grocery store. It was a dozen for 11. And like I was looking at the headlines for the, all these different articles from these sources. And I didn't get to look too much, but it sounds like we're importing eggs to drive down the costs, which is going to be interesting, by the way, with these new tariffs apparently that are scheduled to begin on Tuesday. I don't know. Do you guys think that importing the eggs is going to drive the cost down? Do you think it's a temporary solution? And what do you think about, like, why do you think that the price for eggs is going up? Because of course, like, it's one thing to hear about it online, but I really want to know what you think. Okay, Be Smart says. So Celeste says $20, and Be Smart says 20%. And Be Smart Pharmacy says, I think I may get a couple of chickens. Look, at this point, if you're able to do that. Yep. How much does a chicken cost? Like, with the price of eggs these days, maybe like 4 boxes will get you 1 chicken. I know people with chickens. I was given a dozen tonight. Hey. And Be Smart Pharmacy says, I would not trust imported eggs. Why not? If you don't mind sharing. That's a good point, because it's like what you were saying last time in our other live stream about surplus products, right? And I'm curious, where will we even import these eggs from? Wow. Be Smart commented, but I'm not trying to put her whole business out there. So that's why you got people giving you chicken, like eggs. Okay. Those are free range chickens, right? Not caged, right? V Smart says what they're feeding the chickens is basically why. What? Imitation eggs exist? What? Can you elaborate? I didn't know. Celeste says she already did the calculation. She said day-old chicks are $2 to $8 on average, and the most affordable pullets. What's a pullet? Pullets are $10 to $20 on average, and closer to laying age. Oh, I see. It's based off of like how far they've developed. So, point of laying is $20 to $50 on average. Hey, at this point, if you can buy chickens, go ahead, be smart. Because, yeah, this $11 for a dozen is ridiculous. And then hens, $25 to $100 on average, and fully mature and laying. Excuse me, I looked it up. Oh, go ahead. I mean, I'm on my device doing this live stream, so I think if I were, well, I could look it up, but I don't want to get distracted now. I want to be here present with you guys. Free range during the day, put up at night. What? V Smart says she has a friend with about 50 hens. He's a minister. He has a waiting list for his eggs. I guess this is a good time to have a waiting list for eggs. He charges 15 for 30. Okay. And I had thought about this. It crossed my mind like when I was doing research for one of my videos, um, I came across something about how apparently the food prices have risen since 2020. Um, and like, I don't want to speak negative, I don't want to repeat what I read. Um, but do you think, like, I guess the economy or how it's developed since 2020 justifies, you know, the rising prices that we see at the grocery store? Because like clearly, like, I've been out and about, right? I'm fine. Um and I don't, oh, okay, I don't want to go into what uh social media would be considering as misinformation or anything like that, but I really think that time, um 2020 is behind us, and I don't see how that justifies the prices being the way they are. Um, because unless like our currency, um, how do I say this? Unless our currency uh, is worth more or grows in its worth, the dollar value, then, that'd be a different story. But I mean, I'm not sure I've seen, like, I mean, look, I don't want to speak that over our currency either. I just think something doesn't really add up, you know? Like if the dollar was strengthened and the prices went up, um, that might be less of a problem than the dollar being the way it is now and the prices still going up, It just doesn't make sense to me. Oh, so be smart. I'm catching up to the comments. So be smart says, by the way, for those of you who just joined, we're talking about egg prices, and I'm curious how much they cost where you're at. And we're talking about how apparently, from what I read, it seems like the US is going to import eggs. So, yep, let us know how much it costs where you are. Be smart. What does it mean when egg yolks are close to orange? Is that like more nutritious? She's talking about her friend. He's so giving that he doesn't charge much. I'm also curious. I came across a headline, I think a few days ago, about two of the major credit card companies basically merging. I don't know if you heard about that. I don't know what that entails, like for the economy. Like, is that like, does that somehow demonstrate maybe the shift from like, a traditional dollar to more digital assets? I don't know. What do you guys think? V Smart says her friend used Amish feed, and it is, I guess, the orange egg yolks is considered healthier. The flavor is delicious. Hey, look, V Smart. This channel is all about meeting other believers and, you know, um, showing people that you can be a Christian and still be successful. And it sounds like your minister friend that's selling, 30 eggs for $15 fits those qualifications. So, hey, if he wants to do an interview, let me know. And I was thinking, because I was asking one of my friends for, I guess, some ideas about how to, I guess, balance the finance stuff and, you know, the entrepreneurial and faith aspect of this channel. So I was thinking about some things I learned about money, I guess. Um, and yeah, I mean, if you haven't watched my live stream on why do the rich keep getting richer, um, it's definitely one thing I learned for sure is definitely um, how we think, you know, because someone can be in an environment and outgrow that, if that makes sense. Um, but, you know, then there are other factors like, you know, being aware that maybe you think different from, you know, the people around you and actually taking steps to learn more and become more financially literate. So I think that's really important. But you know, like from personal experience, it like of course it's good, I think, to sometimes go against the grain and think outside of the box a little bit, you know, and gain some experience doing things that maybe, you know, let's just say if you stuck in your comfort zone, maybe you wouldn't try or attempt to do otherwise, right? And it's a very interesting thing sometimes because that could also mean, you know, when you're stepping out of your comfort zone, that might just not make sense to the people around you. And if you have like the right um, heart posture, I guess, and if you understand that situation for what it really is, then it's not going to discourage you, right? Um, because you're going to see it for how it really is. It's like, okay, obviously, if you want to get out of a certain environment, if you want to, you know, shift the trajectory of your life, and of course, it's not just by your will alone. You need God, right? You need Jesus in your life to do that, to totally shift the trajectory of your life and, you know, redeem time. Like unless you have that, um, I can see how it can be really difficult to even want to, you know, get out of that comfort zone in the first place. Oh, so, oh, Be Smart, are you saying yes? Like, is he someone who we can do an interview on the show with? She says, okay, sure. He sells collard greens. At this point, I'm learning more about the products he sells. And moringa? What's that? Yeah, I'm very curious about V Smart, V Smart Pharmacy's friend. Like, I wonder, like, because, you know, with the other guests I've interviewed so far, you know, we're talking about biblical principles, entrepreneurial, you know, endeavors from a Christian perspective, right? And so I'm wondering, you know, what his is and what got him into, I guess, entrepreneurship. Because it's not every day you hear about a minister selling eggs by the dozen. And, it sounds like he got a farm, basically. He sounds like he's living the life, to be honest. Okay, thank you, Be Smart. Oh, his name is Pastor Frank. Interesting. And if he watches this later, hi, Pastor Frank. I've heard, you know, it sounds like people love your eggs. It sounds like you're in the right business right now and you're selling a hot commodity. He's an awesome man of God, he and his wife. Yes. Yeah, I'd like to, you know, talk to him and then see if he's a good fit for this show, which he sounds like he is based off of what we've discussed so far. And so, like, yeah, I'm curious. Going back to, like, I guess, the one thing I learned that I shared about what I learned about, I guess, um, the mindset, wanting to get out of your comfort zone and learn more and become financially literate. I was curious for you guys, um, what have you learned lately? Is your approach to finances like something that you learn growing up? Like, does it match up with what you learned from your parents, what you saw growing up? And I'm curious, what lessons did you learn along the way? Because I'm also thinking about what I learned. I also, I was thinking earlier that, it really does also depend on, like, I guess, risk tolerance. And that applies into, every, almost every aspect of your life. Like, how much are you willing to go outside of your comfort zone, right? Um, yeah, because for me personally, I understand that, like, and I've been applying this, I guess, just from our previous live stream, I did share how I took, the one of the stimulus checks that I received, like, during that 2020 time frame. And I basically thought of it like, okay, well, I can use this money basically any way I want. But I knew that I didn't want to stick to how my life was at that time. And I think I already had a curiosity for business. And so what I did was invest in different courses, like I was saying last time, like, the basics of real estate, stock market, or stocks, and, just getting an idea of how other people think, getting an idea of what people in who are working or at least in the industry, like, what they had to say. And investing in courses like that definitely gave me, I think, the exposure I needed to understand, well, okay, well, I I see how, like, at that moment, it's like, okay, when you, especially when you grow up and you see like the upfront cost of it, which I can understand why for some people it might be a challenge. For me at that time when I spent it, yeah, it was more than I typically spend in courses in general. Like, typically I would go out and spend that money on food or go shopping. But this time I was like, okay, well, I'd rather invest in this. And right now, like, you're basically seeing the result of it. Like, the the way I think now is a result of me taking, I guess, that initiative, right? And knowing that, okay, well, sometimes you have to do things differently if you want a different outcome. And Be Smart Pharmacy says, I'm learning. My parents did not teach much regarding finances. Yeah, I posted if you haven't watched my video, a interview with Nydia Sanchez. She's a realtor in California. And we were talking about how, um, well, she said that she didn't really learn much about finances from her parents. And so she decided to, you know, kind of teach her kids a bit about, spending, and I guess how that probably influenced them to develop. I don't know. I don't want to get too psychological, but it sounds like, both of them, because they it sounds like because they grew up with that, with what Nydia taught them, it sounds like, they were definitely able to steward their money better than, say, if like they hadn't learned about the finances from that angle, obviously. Because sometimes, like like for me, these things I learned, like, in my 30s, even though, like, okay, so I've heard people say, well, like, there are resources out there, but sometimes I think it's not just a matter of like the availability of the resources. Like, okay, sure, if you go to a bank, then, maybe they'll give you, like, I don't know if I should say, a course, but, maybe they have the materials to better equip you, like, so you understand, maybe what you're getting yourself into. But like, in like, if you've got a lot going on in your life, which a lot of us do, I'm not sure how many people are like willing to just sit down there and absorb everything, especially when you've got like different things going on in your life. And I'm not, you know um like, it's not an excuse, but it's like one of those things where I was just saying earlier, it's like kind of those, it's like, it sounds like good theoretically, and it sounds good on paper, but, like, maybe in real life you might respond differently. Does that make sense? And I'm curious, for Celeste, were you always a giver? And I was listening, I was like editing clips from like the previous um, live streams, especially my interview with V Smart Pharmacy. And I was thinking, you know, yeah, it's wonderful because for V Smart, like when she grew up, she saw her parents give to others. And even if it wasn't, just monetarily, it can be an encouraging word. I really, really love that message. And if you haven't watched that, I definitely recommend you do. It's just so different for me because like I grew up and I saw giving, but it wasn't like I think watching V Smart talk about it during our interview was refreshing because you can really see how much she enjoys giving to others. And Celeste says, yes, I believe giving can be different ways, but yes, I would give a lot, even my time. Yes. And Celeste says, I learned from an elder in my family. Mm. That makes me think back to when I was younger, like in college. Um, the way I steward my time now is very different from back then. Back then, like, I'd go out and it could be movies, it could be going out for dinner with friends, a concert, even staying on the phone for hours. But it just got to a point where I just, like, I don't mind encouraging people. That's something that I do, you know, from time to time. It's just, I think I've gotten to the point where, like, okay, let's just say I'm on the phone with my friend, you know, I'd like to support them with whatever maybe they're experiencing at that moment. But it's like, okay, I think maybe it might be a personality thing. um, I'm like, okay, so what's the issue and how are we going to solve it? And are we going to get that done pronto? Basically, like, that's how I like to approach things. When I see a problem, I like to think of a solution, or like, if we're going to be on a call talking about things for this long, we might as well, find a solution, right? Um, yeah, that's just me. Because again, like I said, I've learned from a mentor, time is your most valuable asset. And I don't know, like maybe it's just me. I'd rather, since time is, our most valuable asset, I think it's worth the time to look for a solution than talk about a problem over and over again, you know? And then, of course, now that um, I'm saved, it's definitely like, okay, so look, I might not have the answers for everything, but I can pray about it. We can pray together, you know, and definitely, I think prayer is one of the most powerful ways to overcome challenges, you know, which reminds me, um, like, we're not meant to go through everything alone, right? We're not meant to figure out everything alone. That's why I think that's partially why God sent his son, you know, Jesus Christ, so he can commune with us, you know? We don't have to do everything alone. And I've seen so many good things, like in his name. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up this live stream in a bit. I'm curious though, what topics would you like me to see, like to discuss with you guys next week? I know Be Smart Pharmacy is going to reach out to her pastor friend Frank. Let's see how that goes. But yeah, if any of you have, I guess, a recommendation, someone you think would be a good fit for the show for me to interview, then you already know you can email me or reach out to me there or DM me on, you know, the other social media platforms I'm on. And yeah, we can go from there. I also have like a link on my bio and in the About Me section for my YouTube. So if someone is interested in, you know, doing an interview, then they can book a call there. And yeah, I look forward to it. But I don't know. I'm curious. So the past couple of weeks, basically I went from like live streaming around 5:30 to like now it's like an hour later than I've done it like a couple weeks ago. So is this a good time? Because again, I want to make sure that, you know, I'm here when most people are available. And I know some of you are on a different time zone, which is why, like, I was just thinking it could be like, for example, 9:30 where you're at, right? Or even 10:30 right now. And I was wondering if like is that like too late? Like, just let me know. Okay, Be Smart Pharmacy says yes, it's a good time. All right. Yeah, I think I'll close up this live stream for tonight. And so, yes, I will be back on another live stream next Friday, same time. And yeah, until then, take care and, you know, hit the notification bell. If you are able to subscribe, then I highly encourage you to do that. Um, I don't know why someone would just keep watching my channel and not subscribe, but hey. And make sure to check out my other social media platforms as well and share this channel with, you know, anyone you think would benefit from it. So until next week, take care.